During a UWP media talk show, a caller pledged fealty to party leader Alan Chasney and urged him to back drastic measures by supporters to force the resignation of Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre as National Security Minister and Richard Frederick as Housing Minister. The caller suggested that a complete shutdown of the country through daily protests and human road blockades could bring the government to its knees, leaving Prime Minister Pierre with no choice but to call elections, thus leading to the UWP's return to power.
Shasney, I love him so much. Thank him for the work he's been doing. He doesn't have to be there in St. Lucia doing what he's doing. But here what I want to ask him. We have been having those protests and those different things. And he said it's going to take too long for those 2 years, 3 more years before we have to move those guys out of power. But we need to move those guys out of power now. What I'm asking the leader of the opposition right now, is he prepared for us to shut down the country? Where we have to put, even though it's human roadblock, human beings, we're blocking the roads, we have to shut down the country.
Yeah, but caller, don't you?
Until the National Security Minister has been fired, until Richard Frederick has been fired, because they seem not to be getting the point across that the country is in disarray.
All right, I'll let the political leader answer
this morning.
The UWP has been critical of the SLP government's handling of the economy, crime, and other issues. Party supporters are increasingly impatient, echoing the rhetoric of the opposition leader.
Absolutely.
This idea, we can end on this note for me.
Yeah.
This idea that you're going to wait till the next election to vote them out and be satisfied with that, that's not going to work this time.
Not going to work.
The kind of mismanagement of the economy, the incapacity, the corruption that's taking place in this country, 2.5 years is a long time to do.
Oh my goodness.
Chasney did not rule out the possibility of further action if initial protests prove ineffective.
We've also said that the statements made by Richard Frederick, that the Prime Minister should fire Richard Frederick because he's a breach of his commitment to Cabinet, and we've asked that the Commissioner of Police conduct an investigation.
Right.
I want to say that we've set a timeline in ourselves for them to accomplish these things. And if they don't accomplish those things, then we're now going to be asking for another protest.
Okay.
And this one really has to be a protest where people recognize that the 2.5%, what's taking place with Richard, but more importantly that we're being made a pappy show and that we've lost confidence in this government. And I'm going to say to you that I think that depending on how the government reacts to our first request, how the government would react to a massive, and it has to be massive.
It has to.
That if in fact that they don't change their ways, then I think that what you're calling for would be necessary. Yeah.
The caller also appealed to Chasney to pardon him and the other UWP supporters upon his return to power if they went too far.
My final response to that, it cannot be a one-day protest, Mr. Chasney. It has to be an everyday protest. It has to be we're locking down the streets.
No,
we have to shut down the country by any means necessary because you have been sending messages to them. You have been writing to them. They're not taking you on. After the deadline you'll give them from them to fire the National Security Minister, the Home Affairs Minister, and Richard Frederick. If not, I know when you come to power, you will pardon us.
To be clear, no Prime Minister has the constitutional authority to pardon anyone for crimes against the state. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has repeatedly urged the opposition, UWP, to respect the democratic will of the people, the 2021 election result, and the peaceful transfer of power. He has also appealed to party leaders to moderate their platform rhetoric, which could lead to incitement. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.